You're listening to Misunderstanding Dementia Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Misunderstanding Dementia Course, and you can put in 50 to get a 50% discount on the course. Thank you. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Mike Chua, physical therapist and certified dementia practitioner, author of Misunderstanding Dementia, and today we have a special guest for our Misunderstanding Dementia podcast, and we are interviewing Eileen Corbeet. You know, she is a full-time caregiver for her mother. She used to be a hairstylist, and I think she's still using her skills to on hairstyling to take care of her mother. And she also used to teach cosmetology and used to be the manager of a hair salon in JCPenney. And today we have her as a special guest. You know, learn from her. You know, if you're listening right now, caregiver, you know, hairstylist. You know, we may learn a lot from. We will learn a lot from Eileen because she is taking care of her mother right now that has dementia. So again, thank you very much, Eileen. Appreciate you for coming to our show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, Eileen, anything that I missed there on the introduction? Where are you from? You know.
No. No, right now I'm from Fort Myers, Florida. Originally from New York, Queens, New York. Grew up in Queens, New York.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lived in North Carolina for 9 years. Had 2 businesses there before I relocated to Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what business?
I had a hair salon and I had a day spa.
Oh, wow. Would my hair pass your standard?
You look good, kid.
You know what? I had a patient, you know, he has dementia, very bad dementia. I think probably 4 or 5, and he used to be a barber. And I used to just buzz my hair, you know, just put it in his ear because it's so much. I'm going to be cheap here. It's so much cheaper to buzz my hair because I pay like $20-$30 to have somebody cut my hair now, and my wife won't do it, you know, because she said I won't pay her. Well, anyway, I had this dementia patient. He won't do anything. And I said, well, sir, it was still buzzed and my hair was still, you know, 0. And I handed him that, what do you call that? That clipper.
The clipper.
I handed him the clipper and I told him to stand up, and I sat down on his wheelchair. He stood up and cut my hair. And I mean, it wasn't turned on, obviously. It was turned on. It wasn't turned on.
But he did the motion. He knew how to do that.
There you go. He had it in his brain, so the memory in his hand were doing it, and he was enjoying it. I mean, I didn't enjoy it because he might turn it on, but it wasn't plugged. But the wife was really very impressed because, you know, he was doing something very meaningful. I won't try to do it now because I put gel on it, but you know, but it was such a good thing for patients like that. Well, sorry, I happen to agree with you. And it's something that in the brain was so systematic to him. It was a principle to him. Yeah.
So ideally, that thought for now has stayed.
Mm-hmm.
I think understanding how the brain works through this process with dementia and how the proteins start to affect the brain in different parts of the brain, I think it's very interesting to see how it can all be labeled under one thing, but it's so different for everybody.
That is so true.
So different, each journey.
Yeah, that's so true. You mentioned about the brain. Different parts of the brain functions, has a different function. If you've got frontotemporal dementia, the majority of them are very mad and irritated and aggressive. You know, if you've got the typical basal ganglia dementia or, you know, Parkinson's dementia, they've got, you know, those tremors and everything. So you're right. Every part of the brain is different. So, but one thing is the same, I think, you know, that they are still the same person, not really the same, but they still have that emotion inside. So they still feel it. So the care still needs to be there. So.
Absolutely.
Yep. Well, let's go ahead and go to our fire questions. And first, you know, I told here, you know, step by step, you know, I introduce you and who you are, where you're from. And the next question would be, who are you taking care of?
It would be my mother.
Mm-hmm. So
my mom is 88, or will be 88 in December.
Oh, wow. So how did you end up being a caregiver to her?
October no, excuse me, May 15th, and my dad had passed away after a long battle with leukemia. My brother was living with them, so he was now becoming the caregiver for my mom. Now, having said that, we didn't know what was going on with my mom. There was no diagnosis. There was no, and all of our attention was, of course, on my father because of his illness. I wasn't aware. We weren't aware. And the things that we're starting to see, we related to depression. We related to stress. So things were progressing. So from May 2015, after my father passed, till October 2015, my brother kept contacting me and telling me my mother's bizarre behavior, such as, please call your mother, she thinks I stole her sugar bowl. And then we would find it in the closet. She thinks I stole her can opener or her teacup. It was just kind of bizarre behavior. Again, I was thinking, is this stress or is this something more? Moving forward, October 15th, I took an LOA from my job. Figured I need to go and need full time to get everything under control. And I was able to really see things firsthand. And I knew then that things were out of hand and there was something more to this. Went to see the doctor. The doctor recommended a neurologist. Now, in the process of this, we were just kind of getting my mom, which I thought was on track, a bit out of depression. And the week before Christmas, my brother took a severe asthma attack. He didn't recoup. He died Christmas Day. So then, that, of course, put my mother in a total tailspin. And that's when I did not return back to work after that and started taking care of her and started my journey of finding out what was going on with her, what was really going on with her. So we go to the neurologist. I'm still not getting a diagnosis. All he's doing is giving her vitamin B12 shots. Frankly, they didn't even want to talk to me. I was totally ignored. I'd ask questions, being polite about it. No, well, And one day I went in there and said, oh, well, I don't know. And I need to know. And I had to do the hard talk, Yeah. And the nurse turned around and she looked at me and she said, well, you do know your mother's been having problems with her memory. And I said, yes, that's why we're here. And it's not getting any better. And she said, well, your mother has dementia. I was floored. Because the thing was, as I was now able to access her medical records, she was diagnosed in 2013.
Oh.
I didn't know. Nobody told me. My father didn't tell me. My father did say to me before he passed, which I really didn't know the whole scope of it or what he meant, your mother needs help. I'm too sick to help her. Please get her help. Now I know. So our journey began, doctor after doctor, 2 bouts of bladder cancer. So it was a rough road along the way. And ideally, we went to a neurologist. We went and got her tested. She went through the whole testing process, six visits, to, see where we were at with all this. And at that point, it was a definite diagnosis. They revoked her driver's license, which was a good thing. Yeah. So now she became even less independent, and the anger starts. And I took the car away. I did this. The caregiver is always the one that is in the front line, the front line of the emotions. And so this is where we're at now. Things are progressing some. I can see it. She's really not getting any medication for it. She doesn't take any medication. They didn't recommend medication, just the vitamin B12 shots, which she stopped getting because the needles hurt her too much. She didn't want to go back anymore. I get it. She's 104 pounds. She's pretty frail. So I just monitor her. I even put cameras in the house,
That's
thinking,
good.
okay, this was the next step, to have my app, and I could really monitor when I'm not there, make sure she's okay at night. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Was
Well,
it?
about, let's see, it has to be 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks ago. I
Mm-hmm.
got up in the morning. I had a lot of things to do. I told her I would be there by 2:30. I would be there late today. I
Mm-hmm.
checked the camera at 9:20 before I was going to bed. Everything seemed fine. She was fine, and I talked to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went over. I got there at 20 after 2 the next day. Well, she had taken a fall.
Oh,
She
wow.
tripped over a rug that she
Mm-hmm.
forgot she put by the wall unit.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently she dragged herself, which I saw her on camera after the fact, she dragged herself into the bedroom thinking she could get on the bed. And she was in the blind spot of the camera with the armoire. So she laid there from 9:30 that night until I got there, 2:20. Broke her pelvic bone, ended up in the hospital, rehab for 4 weeks, and now
Mm-hmm.
she's home. And that's why I came to the decision of this is not working anymore. We need to sell your condo. I need to buy a house. We need to move in together.
Well, that's good of you. As a daughter, that's so sweet of you, and taking proactive steps for that. So that I'm proud of you
Well,
for doing it.
thank you.
It's not
It's
all.
hard though because she doesn't want to leave her home. She doesn't want to leave the memories. I think she's starting to get on board right now. She's just starting to get on board. And I think part of that too, Mike, was, we get so lost in the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
They're still our parents, right? They're still our
Yeah.
moms, our dads, or the husband. Yeah. And we get lost in the emotion. And I had to come to a point of tough love and said, this
Yeah,
is
that's
it.
true. That's
This is
true.
it. You either have to go into assisted living or we have to do this journey together.
Together. Yeah, that's true.
Done. Yeah.
You mentioned about emotion. It is really hard because when my father passed away, 2 weeks before that, I was with him, and just seeing a strong man, you know, getting weak
Absolutely.
and not even able to stand up, it's just so hard to see them really declining. So
Yes.
I think you're doing a good job. Not all children are doing what you're doing. Some of the groups that we're supporting, a lot of the caregivers are really doing what you're doing, and hats off to you guys. I wasn't able to take care of my mother and my father because for some reason because I was here in the States, but those people who, like you are planning and taking this challenge, I think you guys will have a really really special place in heaven doing this because part of the Ten Commandments is honor your father and your
Honor the
mother.
mother and father.
Hmm.
Yes.
Not just on the first few years of your life when you're a young kid or a teenager, but up until when we can't, during our late years. So, well, for our listeners, I wrote up below here some pointers that Eileen pointed out. She pointed out here that she wasn't aware of the situation that was going on because most of the time a dementia diagnosis is not. You just can't tell somebody, oh, you got dementia. A lot of patients, they're not aware of it. It's called the denial. That's the first few stages of dementia. Denial. They deny that they can still do this and they can still do that, and they will try to cover it up. So that's the first few stage there, and then the second stage will be the anger or humor stage. Why anger? Because they cannot do what they used to do before. They cannot remember what they used to do, and they cannot uh, remember where they put the stuff, and then they revert to anger. So that's where the part where the mother, her Eileen's mother, was getting mad. And then of course there's this next stage will be the bargaining stage. They'll bargain with family member, priest or God or any higher being or with their doctor. And then next stage will be the depression stage. They'll be depressed. They won't do anything. They'll just stay in the house and do this and that. And then the last stage will be the acceptance stage, wherein they will accept the situation and moving forward. And that's the normal pattern there that I see. So a majority of it, Eileen and her family encountered this. So if you're listening right now, there's no treatment. But there's hope on how to take care of this situation. If you're like what I said, if you're listening, learn from Eileen. Learn from all the things that she's going through, because we can get a thing or two here in this situation here. And another thing that she mentioned is that her brother died because of the caregiver stress. Anyway, it's about the caregiver stress. Caregiver burnout is very real. I don't know if you're part of that Alzheimer's and dementia support group, Eileen, where Chad, he's one of the administrator in that group, and he posted that 80% of the caregiver dies before the actual patient because of the caregiver stress. I'm assuming all our listeners right now are caregivers. You need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your body, take care of your health. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot give money to your loved ones if you don't have money yourself. You can't give coffee. Like my daughter, she can't give me my coffee. They don't give me the coffee downstairs. Same thing with you. If you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of your loved ones. If you really love your loved ones, if you really care for your loved ones, if you really love your mother, you have to take care of yourself in order for you to be able to take care of them. So that's my challenge for you today, guys. If you're listening, you got to take care of yourself. Go out, get some sunshine, walk 10, 20 minutes a day. It won't hurt your day if you walk 10, 20 minutes a day. It won't hurt. It will actually help you bring out the best in you and also in your loved ones. So I'm sorry for cutting you off, Eileen. I was just saying that.
I so agree with everything that you're saying. And I also been on that path because I started to get the burnout. I started to physically get ill. Right now, going through, I have to have surgery for severe carpal tunnel. They think there's some RA involved. Just a lot of things. Had to have the gallbladder out, And what I realized through that journey now is you're absolutely right. What is the one thing that we really need to do as a caregiver? We need to survive this and not feel like we're being selfish about it. Mm-hmm. Because you're right. You get sick, guess what? You can't take care of anybody.
That's right. So, well, thank you very much for all those pointers, Eileen. Really appreciate you. Go ahead to the next question. Sorry about that.
No, I'm good.
So, next question would be, what is your major struggle right now? I mean, we all have different struggles, but we want to know straight up from our special guest for today. So, what is your major struggle right now?
I think right now in the present is I'm struggling through my own health issues, running back and forth to doctors and physical therapists. And again, it's the distance between us, running two households, running back and forth, always worried about what's going on there when I'm here. And this is why I'm taking steps to move forward. And the house, it's not going to be ready till January, which is fine. It gives me time. I have two houses to pack up. And I think one of the major struggles with her is keeping her as on board as possible, without the emotion, without the anger, without the, you got cut off. I apologize.
That's all right.
Just my major struggle, I think, is just trying to keep her positive. And when she says to me, I know I have to do this, but this was my home. Your father picked it out. Yeah, I say, I totally understand. And I love you, Mom. And you know what? We're both going to go through changes. And we're both going to do it in a positive way. And we're both going to enjoy this time. We have a lot of good things on board, which she doesn't know yet and will not know until Labor Day. She's having another great-grandchild. Woo! It will be on Labor Day, and I'm going to be a grandma for the first time, and I'm very excited.
Oh, you don't look like a grandma, so.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to be 64, so I think it's 64? About time. Yes. So I think it's about time I get to enjoy some grandbabies, So
I
I'm
think this is
pretty
the perfect
excited.
timing.
I
A
think
lot of
so
our
too.
clients, we have hey baby, I love that's my eldest daughter. A lot of my clients, when they have dementia, we buy them
A
uh,
doll.
a doll, and it brings out their maternal instinct, and they
Yes, my
become.
mother has dolls.
There you go. So
Yes,
that's a very good timing that you're going to have she's going to have a great granddaughter. So that's very good.
so
Hmm.
excited. So I think that right now is, getting out of my emotion, staying on track, being firm about the fact that this needs to happen and with the move, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, Mom. We have family around you. We all love you. We're here to support you. Because, again, we go back to the emotional side. When she's feeling terrible, it breaks my heart. When she's angry with me, and I'm the bad guy,
Hmm.
it breaks my heart. But now, I think frustration is a key word here for most
Hmm.
caregivers.
Hmm.
Because the thing is, some people have said to me, and I find this an interesting statement, which I understand, would say to me, yeah, it's just like taking care of a child. I disagree.
Hmm.
You know why I disagree? It may be like that on some levels, but a child is teachable. You raise your children, you teach them. They can learn, they can absorb.
They can absorb it in their brain.
Not with dementia.
Yes, that's so
So
true.
I think for caregivers, that's the most frustrating part for us to understand. As much as we try to teach and do repetition in teaching, like, don't put that there, Mom. Don't put that there. That's going to fall. Don't put that on the stove.
Hmm.
We keep believing that they are going to get that,
But they
but they're
won't.
not going to get it.
That's right.
And I think that's the hardest boundary for caregivers to understand. And
That's
I
right.
think education is the key. I know when my mom got diagnosed and I learned that this was her diagnosis, the first thing I did was go on any resource I could on the internet to learn. I
Hmm.
didn't rely on the doctors because guess what? A lot of the doctors really don't know about this, and that's what I learned too. And they kind of pass it off. Oh,
Yeah,
they go,
they're there
yeah,
for like.
well, no, not yeah, well. I
Hmm.
need to know how to care for my mother, and I also want to know, even though every situation can be different, there's a lot of similarities, but I also need to know what to expect as time goes on. So the 7 stages, moving on,
Hmm.
getting on the website Alzheimer's.com, belonging to a group that I read every morning. I go into Alzheimer's.com because people have their posts, and
Oh
I'll
wow, that's good.
give feedback. Excuse me. I think I got almost obsessed with any knowledge that I can gain, including I saw you on Facebook, and here I am.
There you
You see,
go.
anything would catch my eye, and I'm like, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this?
There you go. All right. So, like what I said, I'm assuming you're listening right now. So let's learn from Eileen here. So let's just recap what she said. You know, we asked her about the struggles. You know what her answer is? She didn't talk about the struggles. She talked about the solution there. So, being a caregiver, when you're caregiving, if you're taking care of a loved ones right now, caregiver is a person who gives care to a person. And the person who gives care to a person are nurses, physicians, therapists, CNAs. Guess what? They don't find problem. They find solution. People who are caregiving are solution finders. And this is what Eileen is doing. She's finding solutions. She may not find the actual treatment or the cure for the Alzheimer's, but she's finding solution in taking a step forward to her taking care of her loved ones. She had problems with distance taking care of her mother. She's taking steps. She's selling her house, trying to move to, with her together. And it may not be perfect, but she's taking action. She's moving forward. And another thing that she's talking about, I just wrote it down here. She was saying positive affirmation. She was telling good positive affirmation to her mother. I know it's so hard to be positive when you have a negative disease like this. I mean, There's no such thing as positive disease. But, I know it's really hard when you're taking care of a dementia patient, and it is one of the hardest thing to go through. But being positive is very important because this will push you through. And another thing that she mentioned, I'm writing down whatever you're talking about, Eileen. I'm learning.
Yes, no, I'm learning too.
The phrase, it's going to be okay. That phrase that she was talking about, that it's going to be okay, is very powerful when you're talking to your dementia patients. When you do this, when you tell them it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay in their brain. And that's what I want you to do. If you're a caregiver right now, you tell that to your loved ones. I know you're like partly lying because it's not going to be okay. Nobody's going to be okay. But here's the reality here. They've got dementia. They will remember what the last word you implanted in their brain. If you've implanted to their brain, hey, you've got dementia, you're going to die someday. Guess what? They're going to be depressed more. But if you tell them, hey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Guess what? It's going to be all right. It's going to be okay. People in hospice, I also work in a hospice company. We don't tell the patient, yeah, you're going to die 2 minutes from now. We don't tell that. We come into the hospice patient, if we tell them, oh, you're going to die in 5 minutes because your blood pressure's going down, and your heart rate's going up, your breathing is this, your oxygen level is less than 60%. We don't tell them that. What we tell them is positive affirmation words, and we tell them it's going to be okay. And that's a very powerful word, So let's do what Eileen's doing. Let's be positive in taking care of our loved ones. And last but not least, I also write it down here. Go check Alzheimer's.org. Learn. You gotta learn something new every day. If you're not learning, if you're the same person yesterday, that's not good. You have to learn something new every day, because that's how dementia happens. If you're not learning, if you're not growing in your intellectual ability, guess what? You're going to have dementia. Let's face it. If you're not learning, you're declining in function. Same thing with learning. You have to keep learning every single day, whether it's a new book, a new word, a new thing, a new skill. And look at Eileen's doing. She's learning new stuff every day, and it's opening up her mind and learning new stuff every single day. I'm learning now, by interviewing caregivers like Eileen. So that's very good.
May I also I just want to kind of put it out there because it was such a great resource for me. Tippa, that's how she pronounces it, T-E-P-P, no.
Yeah.
YouTube her. YouTube her, people. Mm-hmm. She is amazing. She is, and the way she explains behaviors and how to cope with behaviors, it just really hit home for me. And isn't she amazing?
She is. I watch her videos all the time.
Yeah. And the other thing is I look for books with resources. One that I just picked up only because being on Alzheimer's.org, if you will, I would read other people's posts. And in the beginning, it helped me so much because, what I discovered? I wasn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I went, oh, my God, that's my story. Oh, my God, that's my story.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God, that's my story. Okay, so it made me feel less isolated. I felt very isolated.
That's right.
I didn't know what I was dealing with. And, the people around you that you love or neighbors, you try to share this because the first thing they tell you in Alzheimer's is share with the neighbors or explain to them so they can watch out. I got the total opposite reaction from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with your mother. It's you.
Yeah.
She's fine. Well, in the core of the brain, one of the last things to go is what Tippa would say is chit-chat. Just because you see her for 5 minutes and she could go, hi, how you doing? Or everything seems fine in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. And they don't see it that way, so they can't relate to it. And so, the other thing is the, show timers, in front of doctors, she would be, even though they knew different, hi. and then totally go home and shut down and be depressed for 3 days and not get off the couch.
That's right.
Unless people understand this disease. So my advice, if you will, be very careful who you share it with. Stay within your tribe. Get your resources. And if all you can do, because so many people have different lifestyles, you have children, you have your husband, you have this, I'm so busy, I have my job. If all you can do, and if you could just start out even once a month, find a group in your area. They're all over. You can look it up, get in touch with the Alzheimer's Association. They will give you a list. And at least at that point, you can share, you can hear other people's stories and start to really understand. Because we find it very hard to come out of the normal, what's systematic for our lives and what's normal for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that with a dementia patient. Every day they're changing.
That's right. That's
On
so
one
true.
level or the other. And what we expected yesterday, we cannot expect tomorrow. So
Mm-hmm.
it's an ongoing, day by day, one day at a time, if you will, and where you really have to, if you observe something that you think is out of the norm, write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Look to your gut. Don't look to your
Mm-hmm.
heart. If you know something isn't right, like they say, look, this walks like a duck, talks like a duck, acts like, guess what? It's a duck.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of the norm, and something is changing. Something is making a shift.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, she's so cute.
I got thrilled
And
with
don't let
her.
anybody convince you different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people will try to say, oh, I've heard it all. Oh, old age. No,
Yeah.
no, it's not old age. People
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. That's not part of, we don't all get like that. Because if it was old age, guess what? We'd all be like that, wouldn't we?
That's right. It is a disease. It is a disease. People just think it's just part of aging. It's not. It's a disease that is really affecting the brain, different parts of the brain. Well, man, I really like what you said about finding a group.
Yeah.
So, if you guys are listening again, find a group, find a support group, not just the online group. I mean, online support group is very important. That's good, but an actual uh, physical support group, if it's once a month, every week, go ahead and find a support group. I mean, this podcast is awesome. We've got different dementia support groups online, Alzheimer's and dementia support group. Those are really good, but an actual physical support group, because actual interaction is very important. Live interaction is very important. So you do that. Find a group that will help you bring out the best in you. Uh, Thank you very much for all those pointers, Eileen. And let's go to the next next question, okay?
I know, I'm sorry. I can
You're
be
fine.
long-winded.
No, well, I'm
I made
learning.
notes, too.
Hmm. So, next question would be, why do you think caregiver experience burnout? I mean, I'm sure every single one of us is experiencing burnout, and how do you cope up with it? How do you handle it?
Well, I think, again, getting back to, I think one of the main reasons is when we're starting to understand that it is a disease, we don't understand, I think, that ideally, again, looking for that normal or thinking we're going to get on track or teach them as we would teach a child, it gets frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I think frustration is one of the main causes. I think the second main cause is sometimes we try to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we try to do too much and think they can't do that. I have to do that for them. Well, I mean, I think a lot of things that at the time I was doing for my mom, she resented the fact that I was stepping in doing it because it took away the things that she could really do. And I wasn't seeing that because I just wanted to do. I just wanted to make everything all right.
Mm-hmm.
We just want to make everything all right.
Mm-hmm.
Not realizing in the intro what I was really doing was basically subconsciously saying, I don't think you're smart enough, or I don't think that you are capable enough, when there were many things she still was capable of. And then she would lash out at me and say, I'm not stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And that would start the anger process. And I go, Mom, I don't think you're stupid. I'm just trying. She couldn't understand, of course, where I was coming from. So once I observed that action in myself, I was able to be more observant of what she could do and let her move forward with it and then praise her. You know, like she would say, I took the Swiffer, because I'd be like, no, Mom, don't do that. I'll do that. You know, and I took the Swiffer and I was able to do the floor. And I'd be like, oh my God, that's great, Mom. Yeah. And now I tell her, you know what, Mom? We got to take care of each other. You know, we're going to move into this house, and guess what? Oh, you're going to Swiffer the floor. You're going to help me with the dishes. We're going to cook for each other. You're going to make the coffee in the morning. Allow them to do what they can do without causing them harm. You know, I think we get back to Michael's safety. We're always looking for the safety factor. Well, I put cameras in the house. Guess what? Didn't help, did it? Not in that case. So that definitely spoke to me and said, listen, I tried everything that I can try. Now we have to move to the next step. And I think me saying to her things such as, like yesterday, we both had doctor's appointments. We both had to go to radiology. We both had to this and that. And she said, I was just telling my friend, she takes care of me, but I think I'm going to have to take care of her. And I thought that was so sweet. And I said, you know what, Mama? You're right. I need you to take care of me too. Well, that made her feel important again.
There you go.
Because for all her life, she was married 65 years. Her life revolved mostly around her family and children and taking care of people. And I think now that was taken kind of away from her, now I'm realizing what I did wrong.
There you go.
I did. You know?
I really love what you said, Eileen. You know, when I ask you about what keeps us, why are we experiencing burnout? Because most of the time we want to do so much for our loved ones that we take away all the power from them, and they lose that power. You know what? In the therapy world, we empower the patient. We ask them, hey, what kind of exercise do you want to do today? Do you want to do standing exercise or sitting exercises? And you're giving them a choice. The more, not the more, but the more interaction and giving them the decision to do something, they get more empowerment. And I wrote it down here, patient empowerment. And that's very important. You know, the feeling of being important to them. You know, just asking them, what do you want to wear today, mother? That's an actual empowerment today, depending on the stage. And look at what Eileen did here. She told her mother, I need you to be better. I need you to take care of me. And that's where the maternal instinct comes back again. And that's where they feel important again. And that's very important. You know, even with the simple thing today, you know, if you're taking care of a loved one, you just ask them, hey, mother, do you want sugar with the coffee or not? Even though you know that they need sugar or want sugar. You know, simple stuff like that. Or, mother, do you want to wear your blue socks or red socks today? And that's already empowering them, and that makes them feel better. So, all right. Well, thank you for that pointer, and that's very important there. So next question would be, what is the one thing that you wish you knew before all this happened, Eileen?
Honestly, I wish, now my situation was a little different maybe, but I wish I would have knew in 2013. I would have started educating myself then for what was to come, knowing how sick my dad was and knowing this was going to be the path. Never, of course, thinking my brother was going to pass. You know, we don't, that was a sudden death. That was a difficult, he would have been 65. And he's my only sibling. What else would I don't know, Mike. I just, you know, this is such a hard thing, you know, when we have to see our parents decline. What do I wish I would have known? What advice I could give, but this was done prior. And I read a lot of these posts on Alzheimer's website or whatever. What I would advise, if you're seeing this and you're in the early stage or wherever you're at in the stage of it, make sure you have the POA, the healthcare surrogate, whether it's a trust, a living will, that it's all together. Because so many people get to the point where it's out of control. Now we have full-blown dementia or Alzheimer's. There's no POA involved. There's no trust involved, whatever the situation be, and they lost their stuff. They have no power. I mean, you can't even talk to the phone company. Like I had to do things for my mom with the IRS. I had to do things about her house. Until I sent the power of attorney that I can speak to them, and it was a time processing thing. Nobody would talk to me. The bank, I was on the bank account, and my dad set up a trust prior to his passing. So that was a good thing. And because he knew too, he knew. But that was my dad was a real smart guy. Miss him terribly. He was my mentor.
Well,
But,
showing.
Oh, thank you. He was just, anybody that met him loved him. He was just a big-hearted guy, and he was very grounded, very logical. He was a lieutenant for the Broward County Sheriff's Office. He was in the military. And he was just very grounded. He wasn't a hard man, though. I mean, one thing I learned from my dad was the fact that if there was a problem, the first thing he would say is, let's find the solution. Or if it were you, how can I help?
There you go.
And I admired that. I always admired that and tried to mirror that, How can I help?
Very good. Very good. Well, let's just go recap what Eileen. The next question would be what advice. You already mentioned it, but let's just go recap what she said here. She talked about what she wanted to know on what was the question again? What's the one thing that you wish you knew before all of this? She wanted to know about the
diagnosis.
The diagnosis. Early detection is very important. If you see some sort of a bizarre behavior, looking at your mother, or father, thinking that they're stealing something, simple stuff like that, you need to have early detection. The earlier you detect something, just like a cancer,
Yep.
The earlier you detect something, the better you can cope up, the better you can treat it. There's no treatment right now, but the better you learn, just like what Eileen did. She learned the diagnosis and she started researching. If she knew more about that 2013, she could have lesser stress right now. So that's my challenge for you today. If you see those kind of bizarre behavior from your loved ones, go ahead, have them check up. It doesn't necessarily mean, investigate for dementia, but there could be some underlying reasons like thyroid disorder, UTI, pneumonia, dehydration, and you can treat that. In that way, you prevent the progression of dementia. And last but not the least, the POA. For the benefit of our listener, POA is power of attorney. It is very, very important because, when all is said and done, somebody has to decide. Your loved ones cannot decide for themselves when this disease hits them. You have to have a POA. If you really love your loved ones, go do it, as early as stage 1 or 2. If they can still decide, go ahead and do this. And in that way, it will lessen up your stress in the future. When my father was passing away, nobody had the POA because he was so healthy, and we didn't have the time to decide. And I was wanting to do hospice, and because I knew he was really declining, but my siblings, they didn't want to do it. So it was just not really a power struggle, but we didn't know what to do because nobody had that POA over him. And, I wanted him to be a DNR because I'm a healthcare professional. I knew that he was already on that end stage of life, but, there was no POA that time. It was so hard to decide. I was being emotional, like, Eileen right now, she's being emotional, and it was hard because it's my family, even though I practice, in healthcare. If you're involved, it's so hard to separate. So a POA is very important. So I guess that's the best tip not the best, but the last tip we can get from Eileen today. So, any
Well, if I
parting
may
words?
interject, Mike, just as I'm just going to throw it out there for
Mm-hmm.
who's ever listening, what I need them to understand. When my brother passed, he had nobody on his bank accounts, not his son, not nobody, because we never think we're going to die. Guess
Oh,
what?
wow.
Guess what? Yeah. Nobody could touch that money.
Imagine that.
Just runs down, just runs down, just runs down from bank fees and yada, yada, yada until it's all gone. So if that's not enough to scare you all out there, it's not fair. That money should have went to his son
That's true.
and his grandchildren. I'm just saying. That's how important it is.
Designate a beneficiary or whatever, a POA. There's a form out there that I'm going to go Google it, and there's some form out there. It's free to download, forms.com, go search,
Yep.
Even though it's not a state specific, go find a form out there and write it down, have a notary do it. It's all over. Notary people are all over. You can go to the bank and have it notarized. If you can't go out, there are online notary that you can go and have it notarized. And here's the thing, you just have to take action. If you're a caregiver right now, and this is what I wrote down here, Eileen is moving forward. She's taking action. You have to take action. If you really love your loved ones, you got to take action in taking care of them, not only physically, not only medically, not only spiritually, but also legally. Because you cannot move on forward if you don't have the legal stuff here. So thank you very much, Eileen, for all those pointers here. I really appreciate that. And last but not the least, any parting words, any wisdom that you can share for us?
Wisdom, I don't know about that. I think we're all in the same boat together. And again, I think it just comes down to what I said before, education, get the legal documents set up, because if you don't do it now, you're going to have to do it at some point, and guess what? You're going to have a hard road ahead of you, much harder than it has to be. And if your loved one said, well, I'm not signing that, you know what? Sometimes you have to almost make up a little bit of lie and just find your moment. Dad, I need you to sign this because, and we both have to, that's it. You find a way. Yeah. Make them understand and make them try it, depending on what stage they're at of understanding the fact that you're doing this because God forbid, Dad, God forbid you were in a car accident, or Mom, or your brother, whoever you're taking care of. And you needed resources. You need it. It's not that I can take it from you, but I can help you. Mm-hmm. I can't be of any help if I can't be in that position.
That's right. That's right. And of course, last but not least, you go into a good timing. You can't ask your loved ones, when they're in a bad mood. Obviously, put them in a good mood, just like my daughters, I mean, I'm not saying they got failing grades, but when they have like an A- or a B+ or something like that, they come in, they know that I need to be in a good mood before I sign that paperwork. Right. So, got my coffee, and ate dinner already or something like that. And they know when to come, and simple stuff like that will really help and improve the cooperation of your loved one. Don't want to have them sign if they are irritated or they have UTI that time or dementia, dehydration or something like that. So, again, thank you very much, Eileen. I really appreciate you for joining in our show. I learned a lot from you. If you're listening right now, guys, Dementia Warriors, Misunderstanding Dementia Group, and Alzheimer's Dementia Group, learn from what Eileen encountered here, because every challenges that we encounter is actually a big victory for in the future. So all these tests that we're going through is actually a testimony for other people. So this test that Eileen's going through is a testimony for other people, and we're learning from it. So if you're encountering some challenges right now, make the most out of it. But here's the key. You have to find a solution, because if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So again, thank you very much for listening to our podcast. We appreciate you. God bless you, and we love you. Thank you very much, Eileen.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Bye-bye. You're listening to Misunderstanding Dementia Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Misunderstanding Dementia Course, and you can put in 50 to get a 50% discount on the course. Thank you.